Hello, and thank you for joining the One Ohio Recovery Foundation Board of Directors October meeting. I would like to ask Lori to take the roll call.
Director Amon. Here. Director Whiston.
Present.
Director Andrew.
Here.
Director Old.
Here.
Director Mason.
Here.
Director Mayer. Here. Director Bruce.
Here.
Director Luce.
Here.
Director St. John. Director Worsbicky. Here. Director Dodge. Director Drehas. Here. Director Hojado.
Here.
Director Tyler Lee. Director Mattia.
Present.
Director Piccirilli.
Here.
Director Greta Johnson. Director Silac.
Here.
Director Gregoire. Director Kidd. Director Lee. Director Radcliffe.
Here.
Director Royson.
Here.
Director White.
Here.
Director Baker. Here. Director Kleemeyer.
Here.
Director Terry Johnson.
Here.
Director Plumer.
Thank you. I show that we have a quorum. So I want to thank everybody who's also joining us virtually. And again, even though we can't hear your comments, please send email to info@oneohiofoundation.com. We'll try to get to it. What Alicia is doing for me is giving me a screen, hopefully, so that if somebody's trying to get our attention, I'll be able to see it. I've always felt bad that sometimes people raise their hand and I couldn't see it, so now I can. But before we get to our agenda, I'd like to remind everybody, all of you that, and all those listening, that this is the National Prescription Drug Take Back Day coming up on Saturday, October 26th. Community across our state will be hosting events focusing on this important community service. And I'll encourage everybody to participate in that event and properly dispose of unwanted prescriptions that you find in your home. Now we have the agenda as the first item of business. Do we have any proposed edits to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the agenda as submitted?
So moved, Mayor.
By Greta,
Second, Worsbicky.
Second by Jeanette. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 And the motion carries. Thank you. In your packet was also the draft meeting minutes for our September board meeting. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
By Evan,
Second.
by second. by
Second.
Marcette. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. Now for our mission moment, this is very exciting. We have a guest presentation. Today, as a part of our mission moment presentations, we have a guest presenter from the Nationwide Foundation, Executive Director, David Jester. The Nationwide Foundation has long been a partner to communities to address behavioral health, and we're glad you're here to share your insights with us on how the foundations can impact our state.
Hi, I'm Chad Jester from the Nationwide Foundation. So pleased to be with you today. Kristen Ross, my colleague, who is Vice President of our foundation, has been leading the Ohio Opioid Education Alliance. Will do a brief presentation for you today on our statewide PSA campaign, Beat the Stigma, which has been in partnership with the state of Ohio. So Kristen and Amanda Prophet, our colleague, have really been the drivers behind this, reaching all corners of the state of Ohio. One thing that's important in this partnership, just to call out, is we did not brand this campaign. It is for the greater good of the community as the state faces some really challenging issues. And secondly, it's a team sport. So you'll see that we've got over 170 organizations from public, private, education sectors, nonprofits, working together to try to reduce stigma tied to addiction and mental health issues within the state of Ohio. Been on this journey since 2018, very atypical for a corporate foundation, but hopefully if you haven't seen the campaign, you'll learn more about it. Kristen really led the effort to say this is a great thing to do, but let's hold ourselves accountable for results as well. So she'll share with you our partnership with the Ohio State University and that accountability to reach all 88 states. Kristen?
Okay, thank you, Chad. It's nice to be here. So Chad did give you a great overview of the Ohio Opioid Education Alliance. It was started in 2018, started in Franklin County and then quickly spread statewide. To Chad's point, we have over 170 and the number keeps every day is continuing to rise, but over 170 partners, both public and private. If you can go to the next slide. Here's a list and it's really small and it continues to get smaller. We had to think of a better way to put all these members up, but just a small sampling of the number of Alliance members. You can see a lot of big corporations on there, AT&T, Battelle, Big Lots, Nationwide, and as well as statewide coalitions. And that's important as we talk through the campaign. If you can go to the next slide. So wanted to ground you in what started the Ohio Opioid Education Alliance. It was the Denial Ohio campaign. It was a Franklin County or Central Ohio, I should say, campaign. Nationwide was at a meeting. Our CEO at the time was at a meeting and really heard about the opioid epidemic and came back and talked with Chad and said, what is it that we can do to help with this opioid epidemic? And one of the things that we know we're good at Nationwide is commercials, public service, not public service campaigns, but commercials. So I think most of you could sing our jingle probably, right? So we said we'll lean in and we'll create a public service campaign. And we had our very talented team of folks, creative teams, create the Denial Ohio campaign. And we thought we would just hand it off after that and be done, to be honest. But what we found as we put the same effort that we put into a commercial, we did a lot of research and we found that the public didn't trust anyone that they thought had something to gain. So they didn't trust government because they thought government had something to gain. They didn't trust big pharma because they thought big pharma had something to gain. But what they did trust is a coalition of groups that had absolutely nothing to gain. You don't sell medical insurance. You wouldn't think Nationwide would have anything to gain. But and you know, from a business standpoint, we don't. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but we don't. So the public trusts people who are doing stuff for the right reason. And so for that piece, we decided to create the Ohio Opioid Education Alliance. And this campaign, just like we do with our commercials and market, had measurable impact. So 57, actually, do you mind showing the next slide? So this is the commercial. Hopefully, some of you, all of you may not have seen it because it just ran in Central Ohio. So let's go ahead and play it. Hopefully.
I was gonna say, if the sound was shared.
What do you think, Andy?
I don't think it's gonna play.
You don't think it's
not
gonna
even,
play?
it's, oh,
Oh,
You can be patient, we're fine.
Is there a bar at the bottom? Yeah.
okay.
We can
Well, I don't think we have a next one. So,
no, I don't think it's gonna work.
well, we will work on getting that campaign. So, this is a campaign that really just talks about, you know, there's common phrases that a lot of us have probably heard, like, my kid's a great kid, wouldn't be my kid. And so stuff that you can hear, you maybe have said yourself or your neighbors have said, because what we found when we, you know, did surveys with Ohioans is if you asked Ohioans, is there an opioid problem in Ohio? 80% of people would say, yes, there's an opioid problem. If you ask the question slightly differently and asked, is there a problem in your community? That number drastically dropped because there is a problem in Ohio, just not in my community. And so our creative team said that's the problem we need to solve for. We need to make sure folks understand that this is happening everywhere. It didn't discriminate based on region, it doesn't discriminate based on wealth, by age, et cetera. And so if you flip back to the other slide that we were just on, thank you. The two calls to action that we had in that campaign were, one, we wanted parents to have conversations with their kids. And we found that 57% of parents said that they talked to their kids because they saw the ad, because of the ad. The other thing we wanted folks to do is to properly dispose of their medication, prescription medication. And 53% of folks said that they did properly dispose of their medication once they saw the ad. So we had really great results. And as a result of those great results, the state of Ohio and Governor DeWine came to Nationwide and said, do you think you could make magic happen again? If you can go, I guess, 2 slides. Thank you. The next one. This was the height of the pandemic. So it's 2020 and we're seeing, you know, the state of Ohio is seeing a couple things. We're seeing the highest alcohol sales on record. And we're seeing huge mental health crisis. It was one of the highest attempts of suicide attempts even to be recorded. And so what our creative team was tasked with is figuring out, you know, why are folks suffering and why are folks not getting the help that maybe they need? Why are they turning self-medicating, turning to drugs and alcohol as opposed to getting help, professional help? And so went through the same process. We did the same research piece that we would do, a lot of focus groups. We made sure now to have focus groups in every county. So we had representation from all 88 counties. We over-indexed in certain areas. We over-indexed in Black and brown populations and over-indexed in the rural population. I think that's important to also call out. And we found we needed to meet Ohioans where they were. Ohioans weren't ready to talk about drugs and alcohol and mental health all at the same time. It was too much of a message. And then stigma in both cases played a huge role. And so as a result of that, if you can go to the next slide. As a result of that, this kind of creative campaign, Beat the Stigma, which I hope most of you have seen because it is a statewide campaign, was sort of born. And so, and if you can go to the next slide. And so with this campaign, we knew we needed to do a couple things. It needed to be in market longer than our Don't Live in Denial campaign. The first thing we tackled, we put in was substance misuse. In Ohio, Ohioans had a harder time getting rid of the stigma around substance misuse than they did around mental health. And so we needed substance misuse to be in the market longer. So what we did is we put the substance misuse campaign in first in commercial, in radio, and we started to introduce the concept of mental health in our creative, in our digital creative. We then kept substance misuse in for a year and then switched to mental health. And we'll show you both those creatives here in a minute. But at the same time, substance misuse, that messaging was in market for about 2 years. And that was to get Ohioans, you know, primed to the message, understanding that it's not your own fault that you have substance misuse issues, that you can't just, you know, snap out of it, for example. So our calls to action was to practice empathy, not judgment. Know your risks. We know that both mental health and substance misuse run in families and that we need to have conversations so that our younger generations are seeking the help that they need and not turning to drugs and alcohol to self-medicate. And then knowing that words do matter. So if you can go to the next slide. So we talked a little bit about this, but that this was a campaign that we kept in market for for quite a long time, November 2021 through end of this quarter, November 2024, it'll be pulled out of market. And kept it in market purposefully. And we did that sort of that scaffolding or that layering to make sure that Ohioans could receive the message in a way that they could consume it and not be reticent to it or not kind of turn away from the message. And it was a huge multimedia campaign. We had video, radio, paid social, and digital display. and had a huge audience. 18 to 64 is a very big demographic to be talking to. The creative did talk to folks under 18 and did also resonate with folks older than 64, but 18 to 64 was our target market. Can go to the next. So here is the first commercial that was in market. Hopefully this works.
Oh, this one might work.
This one's playing. And then we gotta share the audio. Y'all remember from Board Retreat how to do that? You might have to reshare.
I just watched this last night on Jeopardy.
And so while Andy is working on the audio, you notice it's a game show trope, and we found that it doesn't matter who you are in Ohio, what county you live in, what age you are, what gender, what race, game shows resonated across the board with everybody. And so that's why we chose this kind of trope. We do get a lot of, it definitely is airing, and I hope everyone has seen it in market. But we do get a lot of calls from across the state as well as other states asking, is this something you can do in my state? Is this something that you can, that can go across the country? It really does resonate with people. Yeah, if it's not gonna work, Amanda had a really great point. We can send you the YouTube links so that you can see them later. So Andy, if you want, we can just go back. We just wanna. The only way I know how to do it is you have to like sign all the way out and press share audio. Yeah, it's a lot. So here's an example of some of our additional creative, digital and out of home. One of the most effective things that we did in Appalachian, Ohio, so for those of you in rural Ohio, is when you're pumping gas on the screens, the video screens, playing the ads on those video screens. And then the other thing is little ads on pizza boxes. So like little stickies on your pizza box as a way to get the message out. And really leaned into experts in our counties in Ohio to say, what's the best way to get this message into the hands of your neighbors? Also had a lot of great response on our social accounts. One of the things that we found right after the campaign launched, there was a bit of reticence, which meant, and it was around older males were reticent to the campaign, and so didn't like the campaign, didn't believe in the campaign. And so one of the things that we found to counteract that, because we were constantly studying the campaign, is our sports figures. And so we really leaned in to getting all the sports teams as members of the Alliance and asking our, athletes, owners of the team, coaches to post on social media, to share their story. And, we always, Amanda and I would provide a safe script, if you will, for the athletes. And as we talked with them and worked with them, inevitably, they always shared their own story around either mental health or substance misuse themselves or in their family. And so it was very authentic. And once we started getting those messages out, we saw that reticence from the campaign leave. And so that was an important learning for us, is understanding, what voices are providing the message. And if you can move to the next slide. So we talked a little bit about success, and we wanted to make sure, this is, I think, one of the reasons we were most important, is that we constantly measured the success of the campaign. Every month we met and we're looking at metrics. The first it's actually the first one and the last one, the website and the media, these are your typical metrics that you usually get with a PSA campaign. We're looking to see, are people actually coming to the site? Are they clicking on the links? Are they staying on it? You know, we served up the campaign, and so it was in front of people a lot. Did they click through? When we served it up on an ad on YouTube, did you stay on the ad, for example, or did you X out as soon as you could? And so we were meeting and actually overachieving all the benchmarks set by consumer-facing brands. There weren't benchmarks out there for PSA campaigns, and so we just used benchmarks for consumer-facing campaigns. So our stuff performed better than Nationwide, performed better than Nike, performed better than Progressive, so performed better than a lot of the campaigns that you see when you turn on your television. We also, and a lot of that too was because we were constantly tweaking it. We were seeing what can we do to continue to get that great results. The middle part is where I think a lot of folks don't invest in research, and we really wanted to. We wanted to see, did we reduce stigma in Ohio? And looking at your website and your media impressions and how people are interacting with your media doesn't tell you if stigma actually was reduced. So we contracted with The Ohio State University to do quarterly research. We started before either of the campaigns were in market, and this is the Beat the Stigma campaign. We didn't do that work before Denial Ohio, but before Beat the Stigma was in market, we did baseline survey across Ohio to see what was the level of stigma in Ohio. Then at each quarter the campaign was in market, we performed the same survey. And what was really cool is that we saw movement. Can you go to the next slide, Ian? So you'll see here some of the pieces that we saw. You know, 81% of Ohioans wanted to learn more about mental health, and 62% of Ohioans want to get the information from their workforce. They found that to be the most trusted source. One of the questions that we asked to see if we were really moving the needle on stigma was around your workforce, or around your interaction with your employer. So for example, we asked the question, if you were suffering from a mental health or a substance misuse issue, would you let your employer know? And in the baseline survey, before anything was in market, the answer overwhelmingly was no. Ohioans did not feel comfortable disclosing to their employer. As the campaign has been in market, we've seen that metric move. It hasn't moved a lot, but it's moving in the right direction. Where we've seen a lot of movement is if you ask the question slightly differently. And if you ask, would you tell your employer if your loved one was suffering from substance misuse or mental health? And before the campaign was in market, the answer was no, but we have seen great strides that people feel more comfortable telling their employer if their loved one is suffering from a mental health or substance misuse issue.
Hey, Kristen, we're at time. If you need to stick
Yeah,
around.
I see.
Okay.
And then, so yeah.
Get the big red flag in the back of the.
I did, yeah. And so I'll just wrap up by saying that a couple of things we've included in here, and you can kind of just like skip through. A couple of reasons why we were able to get such a huge coalition of folks join the Alliance. Because when you looked at that list, most of the time people were like, this isn't my issue. Opioids and mental health don't affect my workforce. But when we started sharing our numbers, and if you can go back to that slide with this is our workforce number that we lost, an annual cost of substance use in our total workforce. And so we've invested in a couple tools, and these are free and available to anybody, that will tell you what costs substance use and mental health are bringing to your workforce. And once folks type their information in and then pull their actual spend, that's when they started joining the Alliance. We will send, I'm sorry that the links did not work to the creative, so we'll make sure that you get those links so you can see the commercials. But happy, I think I am way over my time, but happy to answer any questions anyone has. And we have our contact information here. So if you think of anything, feel free to email us.
So I'll just wrap by saying it's very atypical for a corporation or corporate foundation to do this work. We can't find anybody else in the country that's done it. It's been a great partnership. We've learned a lot, but we've been trying to take our knowledge, our learning, and sharing it with Alicia. And with Sarah, just so the information doesn't get lost within Nationwide. And the work that you're doing is so important for the state of Ohio. We want to be sure to convey those learnings, how Ohioans are feeling about things. Our marketing focus groups were very deep in knowledge. I don't think this group would be surprised as to how Ohioans feel about these issues, but if you don't ask, you don't know, and we ask. So to change those opinions, those insights, those stigmas is the journey we're all on together. Again, we want to keep working with Alicia, Sarah, and the team just to make sure that our knowledge is conveyed as much as possible. And we really appreciate the work that you all do. So thank you.
We'll make sure to share those calculators. I saw folks kind of writing those notes. I think that they're helpful, so thank you.
Yeah.
And actually, it's one of the programs I think has been extremely effective. So I appreciate how people have started to adjust their mindset towards not just being more accepting, but actually to a degree idolizing those who have, I'm getting a note here, those who have moved forward their lives and are trying to be stay in recovery. Who? Dr. Michael, I'm sorry, my screen was moving all over. Go ahead, Michael.
No problem. I just think it's almost, I don't know if we can make a motion to congratulate Nationwide Foundation. This has been a tremendous campaign, and their results obviously are impressive. So I don't know if we can make a motion to thank them for what they've done, but if we could, I would love to do that.
Made by Michael,
Second.
second by Julie. I doubt there's any debate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries again. Thank you very much. So next item on our agenda is the strategic plan ad hoc committee. And following our conversations last month, the staff team has included an update of the mission statement as well as an updated list of values. So let me turn this over to Alicia at this point for more.
Well, good morning to all of you, and thank you so much for your feedback last month. We really went back to the drawing board with this and really tried to incorporate that feedback in the versions you'll see today. So without further ado, we can jump right into those. And so on this next slide, if it'll go, there we go. We really felt like you felt good about the vision. So maintaining that our vision here at One Ohio is a place where hope thrives, families are strong, and everyone has what they need to live with purpose and dignity. And that was really that broad view of our hope for our state and that vision for this organization. And to get there, we have two versions of the mission that we wanted you all to take a look at that incorporated three themes that came from last month: prevention, advocacy, directly connecting to substance use disorders or mentioning that aspect of addiction that we think we missed. And so our first option here is to save lives, prevent substance misuse, that's the prevention aspect, promote recovery, and build resilient communities by uniting partners, advocating for change, fostering innovation, and investing in effective strategies. Our second is a little bit more succinct, if for those of you who prefer a shorter mission, which would be to save lives, prevent substance misuse, promote recovery, and build resilient communities through partnership, advocacy, and innovation. So I know it's hard to wordsmith with 25 folks in the room, but wanted to just open it up to conversation to get anybody's thoughts if we're closer to what you all think is a good mission statement for our organization.
And the floor is open for discussion. Jeanette.
I like option 2. But I think it does need to add about the effective strategy investing.
So say that again, please, Jeanette.
I like option 2, but I think we do need to add investing in effective strategiges.
Okay.
By affecting And
Okay.
so partnership, advocacy, and innovation by investing in effective strategies. So kind of blending that end of that first one
Okay.
to the second.
Okay. Makes sense. Julie thinks it makes sense. No. Any more discussions? I'm happy to, should we have a motion then to accept the vision and the mission with the amendment? Okay, so that being the case, I'd like to have a motion to accept the vision as written. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
You know, one of the things that I think Kristen talked a lot about, and I heard a lot from their presentation, was about education and educating. And I don't see that word necessarily in either one of those vision statements. About educating our community about what the problem is. So.
That's probably embodied in prevent substance misuse.
And advocacy. And advocacy.
Okay, so I can get a general feel of the board. Should number 2 then say to save lives, prevent substance misuse, promote recovery, and build resilient communities through partnership, advocacy, I see, just innovation or an innovation?
And innovation.
And innovation by investing in effective strategies. Is there a motion to accept both those as that, as I was by Denise, motion by Denise? Is there a second by Julie?
Second.
And double second by Michael. And discussion then, and discussion on the motion. Okay, we'll just have a voice vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? And the motion carries. Anything more on that? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the Audit and Finance Committee. We have the 2023 audit report results from Heather Dolan, our auditor. Each year, the foundation undertakes an audit to ensure the foundation's financial information is represented fairly and accurately and offer confidence to all that the foundation is operating within the legal regulatory compliance. Today, we have Heather Dolan, our auditor, to share her findings of 2023 audit. Heather.
Thank you very much for having me. The audit report is being passed towards you as we speak. So we will begin on page 1-1. Once you receive those. So 1-1 is our independent auditors report from SEO CPA Group. I'm Heather Dolan, the audit partner. That, in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects. This is in the second paragraph of that first page. This is the result that you're looking for. This is what you want to see. We make great strides to get there. We do a lot of testing, ask for a lot of information. Thank you, Jim and Alicia, for providing all of that and through several meetings. So we were able to get there, and it's where you want to be. So it's called an unmodified opinion. Moving through the statements of financial position, you will see cash and cash equivalents jumped dramatically with the receipt of the opioid funds. We have total current assets. We have a new asset of software that was purchased during the year. And then we have net assets without donor restriction and with donor restriction. The with donor restriction consists of those opioid funds in that particular use. So that has to be separated as a restriction. On the next page, page 3, statement of activities, you'll see 2 columns, one without donor restrictions, one with donor restrictions. Again, the opioid funds, the bankruptcy settlement grant revenue, those are reported with restrictions. And then we have management and general expenses this year. We'll show you more detail on the next page. Interest income and in accordance with the MOU is still considered restricted to use. And then we have our ending net assets in total of 92,656,057. The statement of functional expenses is page 4-1. This shows a breakdown by natural class of the functional expenses, separated program. Everything is management in general while the grant system is being set up. Page 4-2 is a comparison to last year. So, getting started. Statement of cash flows, page 5. So we've got operating activities, the inflow of those opioid funds, and then a minor investing activity, that purchase of software. So it comes down to what our cash and cash equivalents reflects at the end of the year. Any questions on financial statements? Just a couple of things to note in the notes to the financial statements, starting on 6-1, it explains under note B, the net assets without donor restrictions and with donor restrictions and what those definitions entail. A new disclosure, the intangible assets at the bottom with regards to the software purchase. Fast forward to the end of note B on page 5-3, concentration of credit risk. This just shows that most of the funds are covered by FDIC insurance. And so there's a disclosure of that, and what the in excess of FDIC limits are. Note C shows your liquidity and availability of funds. Note D are the leases. Those are all short-term leases with regards to the office expense, office rental. And the last page, those are all carry forwards of things that happened in 2022. So those are not new. Are there any questions?
Floor is open for discussion. And if there is any discussion, I'm open to receiving a motion to approve.
Motion approved. Second.
Second, motion by Robert Ratcliffe and then second by Evan. Any discussion on the motion to approve the 2023 audit report? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Thank you very much, Evan.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is the September financial report. I'd like to turn that over at this point in time to Jim Quinn to share the unaudited August financial statement details with the board.
Good morning. So I want to follow up with Heather's presentation, just so we understand the difference between what Heather presented, which is your full base report, and what the reports that I've been giving you, which are managerial reports, budget reports, where we stand today from a budget perspective. So in September, which is September marks the end of our third quarter, so we have 3 months left in the fiscal year. The operating budget is around 49% of the funds that you approved. That was the balance. In September, we obligated 225,000. Of that 225,000, 121 was insurance. So we renewed our insurance plan that includes directors and officers insurance, crime insurance, business owner insurance, employee practice insurance, and this year we added cybersecurity insurance. The previous year, the amount we spent on that was around 139,000. So the rest of the organization is slowly decreasing, and that's reflected in our rates. We also, in September, moved to a new location. So as you'll see under the office and meeting space, we didn't spend any money in September because we negotiated free rent for September. So there's no expense there. In the grant budget, we have around 47% of the grant operating left for the year. We spent 38,000 in September. The majority of that was the good work that Mighty Crow is doing. Mighty Crow continues their grant evaluation process. I turn your attention to the cash balance report. There was a question from the board member, like, why don't these things add up? Well, in September, the budget report is obligation. For example, we obligated the insurance because it started on 9/19. We didn't pay for the insurance until last week, right, when the invoice was due. So that is slightly some of the differences between the two numbers. We gained 990,000 in cash in September. Most of that is interest, right? Interest from our accounts. The rates in September have declined with the federal rate cut. So we can expect lower interest moving forward as those rates are adjusted by the feds and then reflected in our accounts. Any questions?
Jim, I have a question.
Yeah.
The interest, the
Yep.
1.1 million
Yep.
in the month of September.
Yep.
Is that a result or reflect our entire cash on hand? Is that correct? Is related to,
So the interest that we earn gets distributed by policy over the funds in which that money is invested. So you'll see that the distributed year 18, that prepayment is earning interest, right? The unallocated amounts that have not been allocated yet are earning interest. Bankruptcy earns interest, and in the operating, McKinsey and state, those also reflect small amounts of interest, right? So those aren't straight disbursements. Does that answer?
I think so. So the distributor Jensen year 3 and 4, the Walmart, the Walgreens, all those are earning the interest, they equals to 1.1.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion on the unaudited August financial report? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. My note said August, but it is in fact September.
That's my fault.
So is there a motion then to approve the September unaudited financial report by Ron?
Second.
Is that second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries then. Thank you very much, Jim. Next up is the allocation process discussion. So last month, we began a very important discussion. And this month, after talking with many of you, we'll continue these discussions. So I'd like to turn it over to Alicia at this point.
Yeah, so thank you all for the robust discussions last month. I think that this is an area of our agenda where we'd like to take this where you guys see fit. I have a couple of things to share. Evan, I don't know if you want to kick us off in any way before as the chair of the Audit and Finance Committee.
Sure. We appreciate all of the comments, certainly all of the answers in the board survey link. We are going to continue to take time from the Audit and Finance Committee to gather feedback, have discussions, Certainly, there are some questions that we need to answer as a board, discussions we all need to be involved in. And so I think we're gonna continue to take a couple of months of meetings with the Audit and Finance Committee to kind of get us closer to what looks like allocation process that we can all get behind. So I'll send it back to you.
Yes, and so one of the primary questions that we left, or one of the things that we left last meeting with was, you know, wanting more information. And so you all should have received the slides, the complete slide deck from last month. And then I wanted to make sure we shared in person some of the detail that went into those slides so that you all can see the total picture of the allocation draft idea that we put before you last month. But coupled with that information that we shared, you guys gave us a lot through the survey. I think 16 of you so far have completed the survey. We like to see the full board complete the survey if you haven't already. And really what you're saying to us is a couple themes. One, you want to know what happens with the first round of grants. And so we are working now to put a presentation together. We will have that information available for next month to talk about who all applied and what did they apply for. So just that global perspective of that $500+ million that we got in application requests. What did that look like? What happened there? Then we'll talk more and we'll have the final numbers. Fingers crossed we get through all the grants here in a moment. You know, we'll have the final numbers of what was then awarded from that total, as well as, and I think very important, region feedback. So all of the region board members across the state, all 330 plus, have received a survey link as well. They're giving us feedback as we speak. So far, we've received nearly 100 responses, which is great. And that will continue to happen. And we'll talk more about where the regions are with their process. So we will bring all of that information to you all in November and continue these conversations. With that said, I think that we can, you know, kind of take this, one of the important things that we still need to do is keep the lights on at the foundation. And so what we were going to take a look at as well in November is what an operations only allocation would look like for 2025. A minimum budget to keep our rent and all of our staff paid, our vendors supporting us, and our grant process on track. And we will continue that conversation that way, and take it from there. But of course, Chair, if we're happy to answer any other questions or any requests for more information that would help this process or feedback to the process. I think that both the chairs are really looking to you all for any of that. So that was all I had.
Is there any more feedback or discussion? And again, if you think of something over the next few days, feel free to email us. It's always good to have a more firm understanding of what the collective group, we'd like to have consensus as we move forward. So hearing none, let's move forward then with the Grant Oversight Committee. And again, I'll turn this over to Alicia for the updates.
And I know Tom would probably love to be here, but we're really excited for this part of the agenda. Not that all of it wasn't important today, but I think a lot of us have been waiting a long time to be here. Our staff team certainly has been waiting a while to be here. So what we're going to share with you are a couple important things around the previous grants that we've discussed before. We'll talk a little bit about regions and where all the regions are, good news in all areas. And then we will jump right into reviewing what is 100+ grants that we will need to review for the rest of the time that we're together. So if we can go to the next slides, I just want to remind everybody, if we ground ourselves in that you all vote to approve region grant applications. Once that we get that approval from you, we start working directly with the organizations that were approved. Once some of those verification forms and grant agreements are signed, we will start to provide that information in press releases, and we are excited. The wait is over. We will announce today several, I believe 18 organizations so far, but we'll also talk about where the rest of them are in this mix. And then we also are excited to say today our site will launch, where anyone in Ohio, including yourselves, can go on our site and take a look at who was funded for how much, from what region, for what purpose. And so we're really, really excited to share this information with all of you. I know Connie is here and is going to be managing our media to make sure the world knows the process that we're going to talk about more today, but exciting time to really talk about the great work that you all have been doing in your regions. I want to thank the regions. We are trying to quantify how many hours were spent reviewing, over 60,000 pages of information, and we really appreciate the process. And so with that, we'll go right into the awards. Before I say anything else about the awards, we're going to talk about 4 regions today. This is not 100% of the awards for the region. These are the applications or the awardees that have completed the process. We will be coming back to each region and announcing more. No region is 100% complete. So I didn't want anyone listening today to our board meeting to think that this is all that's being awarded to Region 5, 8, 16, or 17. This is just a few examples of the great work that we hope to do in partnership with a number of community organizations over the state. So Region 5, I know Greta is here. We spent a lot of time working with the Region 5 team, put forth a number of great projects, as you see here, focused on servicing, supporting impacted families, quick response teams, recovery supports. I won't read all of these to you, but they all are on our website, and the information about what they're planning to do is available there as well. So congratulations to all these Region 5 organizations. We were pleasantly surprised talking to Sarah, got a chance to talk to so many on the phone. They really are going to feel the impact of these dollars, and we're excited to be their partner. For Region 8, we have 3 organizations: Wright State University, Good Shepherd Ministries, Single Parents Rock, who are going to be doing a number of things in the Montgomery County area, focused on crisis support, recovery supports, and treatment and healthcare services. So congratulations to the Region 8 folks. Region 16, 2 grants here, Recovery Services, who are going to work on a women's residential program, and then Triangular Processing, interesting name, but they are going to be focused on transportation in the Region 16 area, which is going to be important in those rural communities. And then finally, Region 17, we are excited to have signed agreements with a number of organizations out of Region 17, who was our first region to kind of complete the process. So thank you all for your hard work. Really focused on innovation, and this is one of the first innovative projects that we are approving, really thinking about efficiencies for those who are on the front lines, helping support individuals in caring for individuals with substance use disorder. Excited to take whatever is learned from that process and carry it to the whole state. Other grants include the criminal legal system, and then services for impacted children and family. This was our first award. I do want to point them out. They'll always and forever be a special place for the Sandusky County Department of Job and Family Services, focused on children and families who have been so impacted by this epidemic. They were one of our first to contact, first to sign, and we're so glad to be partners with them and many others. So we will continue to do these announcements every week, but I want to just talk about what that process, was. And so again, I'm proud to share the details of these first grant recipients. We expect to have hundreds more, and we're going to talk about several of quite a few here in a moment. Unfortunately, we won't be able to feature all of our grant recipients in our board meetings this way. Today is special, but all of our grantees we're really excited to partner with. I know all of you are excited to partner with them. Moving forward, we are gonna announce the future recipients on what we're gonna call Grant Award Wednesdays. And I think I've talked to a couple of you, I was like, you know, Fun Friday, what's that catchy thing gonna be? But it's Grant Award Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, or as we have them on Wednesdays, we will release, provide a press release and share and update our website with the organizations, the regions, the totals, and what they're planning to focus on from starting today until the foreseeable future, until we get through them all, with the hopes of, you know, getting them up as soon as possible. So be sure to check our website out. We will provide this information as well as we get them complete to some of the other funders out in the community. For example, Mental Health and Addiction Services, our Adam H boards. We want to make sure people know who we funded to not duplicate efforts. But we're really excited to be at this point. So I think that is all I have to share. Now let's talk about where we are with the rest of the regions and some of the work that we need to do.
Yes, very excited to share that as of last week, 100% of our regions were done with their grant review process. We now have feedback from all 19 regions. So as you can see, everybody is further along in the process. All the regions are with the expert panel. Staff is doing those remaining budget reviews on them. And as y'all are probably used to now, this is that rolling process. So as things make it through expert panel, grant committee, and they come here, it's rolling and we're moving. So we've still got regions that no region is 100% done yet. We've got applications at different stages that is shown here. So just really exciting to be done. I know all the regions are excited to be done with their review. We are doing debrief meetings with all of them to kind of talk about what happened, get their feedback. Cannot thank them enough for all of their hard work. We hope to be done with all of the review process for our November board meeting and be able to get through everything by then. So that is the goal. So, we can go to the next slide. Laura.
So just to shed a little light, as we've just mentioned, that no region is 100% complete. So we just wanted to show you what does that mean, where numbers wise, where are they all living? So starting at the bottom, we have the 18 that were announced today that are fully finished. We have 19, we're still working through those negotiations for their agreements. 119 is the number that we'll be talking about today. And then those remaining 38 are with the grants committee and 73 with the expert panel. And actually, some of those 38 were already handled this morning. So these numbers are already out of date. But so just to let you know where we are, and we will be moving everybody through the process as quickly as we are able. You can go to the next slide. And you can go to the next one. So today, we do have 10 regions to talk about today. So normally we've given some overview of the region, but as there were so many, we thought that would be quite time consuming. So we've just given a summary of all these 10. So of these 10 regions, they received 783 applications and have recommended 154. And you'll notice that difference between the 119 that we'll be talking about. That difference means those are on hold and you'll see them at a future meeting. So with a total requested amount over 300 million, and we have recommended over 28 million. And we can go to the next slide. Here's the summarization of what that funding impact would look like by abatement strategy. And we're seeing prevention and recovery supports being the strongest funded ones. And that is pretty consistent across, we're seeing that trend in all regions. Go to the next slide. All right, and with that, we are ready to begin our review of those 119 grant applications.
And as indicated on the slide there, that I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session
So
for
moved.
the purpose of contract negotiations for our regional grants and public planning. For board members joining the executive session virtually, please go to the second link in your calendar to enter into the private Zoom room. So is there a motion?
So moved.
by Greta, second by James, and we'll actually do a roll call on that then.
Director Amen,
Yes.
Director Whiston,
Yes.
Director Handrew,
Yes.
Director Old, Director Mason,
Yes,
Director Mayor,
Yes.
Director Bruce,
Here.
Director Luce,
Yes.
Director Worsbicky,
Yes.
Director Dodge,
Yes.
Director Dreehouse,
Yes.
Director Hohato,
Yes.
Director Tyler Lee,
Yes.
Director Mattia,
Yes.
Director Picarilli, Director Johnson,
Yes.
Director Silac,
Yes.
Director Radcliffe,
Yes.
Director Roizen, Director White,
Yes.
Director Baker,
Yes.
Director Kleemeyer,
Yes.
and Director Greta Johnson.
Yes.
okay, the motion carries, so we will go into executive session at this time. All right, we are hereby come back into general session. We have exited the executive session, just to be a bit redundant. Denise, did you have a
I
question? or-
would like to make a motion that we approve of 118 grant projects at the amount of $22,701,633.09.
Is there a second to what she said? Tom, any discussion on the motion? And we'll go ahead and we'll do a roll call. Is that, where's Lori? Lori gone?
She's coming on up with her list.
I just want to be certain on that then.
On the roll call.
There are no abstentions.
And that includes the questions that we have.
Director Amen,
Yes.
Director Whiston,
Yes.
Director Handrew,
Yes.
Director Old, Director Mason,
Yes,
Director Mayor,
Yes.
Director Bruce, Director Luce,
Yes.
Director Worsbicky,
Yes.
Director Dodge,
Yes.
Director Dreehouse,
Yes.
Director Hohato,
Yes.
Director Tyler Lee, Director Mattia, Director Picarilli, Director Greta Johnson, Director Silac,
Yes.
Director Radcliffe,
Yes.
Director Roizen, Director White,
Yes.
Director Baker,
Yes.
Director Kleemeyer, Director Terry Johnson,
Yes.
Director Phil Plumer.
I do know Dawn Tyler Lee's in the waiting room. She was checking her link if she's not in the correct one, if we need her for quorum, but she does approve if you want to see the
We
text.
don't have a waiting room. Can she get back on the full board meeting?
and
link?
there's Matt, is Matt Olds on? Can
Yeah.
you,
But he didn't respond
when I asked
for his name. He
was already
but
Someone
but he is
came in.
there.
Which board member just joined?
Hi, it's Dawn.
We just need you to say aye, Don.
Well, what am I saying? I too. No, I'm just kidding.
Good question.
Motion to approve the grant.
118 projects in excess of $22 million.
Double I.
All right. And I mean, I know Matt Old, let the record show that Matt Old is on the call, on our call. All right. Well, then the motion carries and we will then award 118 grants. Is there any further business then to come before the board?
To adjourn. I got money on mine, approving money.
We've already voted to approve the money, so then the motion is to adjourn. Second,
Second.
Greta, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Don't forget, on October 29th at 10:30 in the morning, we'll have our virtual meeting.